morning, everyone. I have used the smaller barrel on the air wrap, and it's kind of giving me like old Lydia Millen hair waves, and I didn't want that, but it seems to be the one that holds a lot better in my hair. But I feel really strange, I feel like really big. But I am dressed and I'm ready to head to London. I'm wearing ALLYIA trousers, I think, a little lily silk roll neck. I've got Amelia Wickstead coat, end peel scarf. I've got burgundy flats and burgundy bag that I actually need to organise a little bit because we've got gloves in here. A little bit of, there we go, much better. I am heading down to London today to catch up with Jacqueline. She's over from America, and for me it's just really good to continuously like touch base with her, but also just like get aligned for the year. But also, like, one of the things that I thought was a really interesting topic, but also just about being like kinder to myself. Like, one of the things that I put in my intentions video was obviously how I speak to myself. It was something that I learned from Jacqueline, and I think we'll probably end up talking a little bit about that. Jacqueline is my life coach, if you don't know. She's the leading life coach in the UK. She is absolutely incredible. She changed my life. She's changed so many other people's lives that I know as well, and it's just, for me, I feel really lucky that she's in my life. And so I'm heading down to have a catch up with her. We're going to go for lunch. Also going to go to her house, just sit down, have a chat, have a catch up. And I thought you guys could be a little fly on the wall for that. I look like I'm going to the office, but when you take the trousers off, it's kind of like, ooh, I just don't really feel like myself. I wanted to wear my cashmere dress, but it's been hung out to dry and it's grown. So I think this is the outfit of the day, but I do look like I'm going to the office. I have arrived to Jacqueline's, and I did my best not to film in the taxi because I appreciate that when it was before Christmas, I was like, I've made it down to London every time in the taxi, and I feel like my day turned around a little bit. I started the morning, I just felt like I didn't start it on the right foot today. Then I walked into the train station, and as I went to buzz through the, what's it called, the gates, the gentleman that was waiting there just to like make sure everyone's got their tickets said, "Fabulous hair, madam." And I was like, well, fantastic. But I'm here in London with the Queen herself.
Putting on some lipstick. I was like sneakily doing that.
Preparing my close-up. We've got Piper in the house as well.
I was always in the house.
Happy Piper. This is a Piper appreciation account now. We're just like Piper fans, that's it. And Piper just goes and sits in that bed and disappears into it in camouflage. Oh my goodness. I think what we can all agree is that this is the time of year when we can be a little bit kinder to ourselves and just take care of ourselves. It's all about cocooning and cozying up, and just, I always love to use like good body creams and things like that. Just go the extra mile with myself. But most importantly, it always comes down to the way that you think. That's always going to help you the most. And I think that Jacqueline is the one person that is able to make me think differently about situations and also just about life in general. And that's where well, I even said it in my intentions video, got to be kinder to ourselves. So I thought that why not let you be a fly on the wall in my favourite conversations with Jacqueline, and hopefully it will help you in some way, shape or form. As usual, I'll leave all of Jacqueline's information in the description box down below. I know that lots of you have experienced her wonderfulness, so it'll all be down there. Lovely. I just feel bad because I've probably got coffee breath.
Is this on?
Yeah.
I love it. You know when we did that last time, we were like
faffing our hair. It's like a shampoo advert.
I know, right?
Hi, welcome back. So good to have you back.
It's so cold, isn't it?
I know.
It's like proper cold out.
But it's also going to get colder. I'm looking forward to the like it getting colder though, because I love experiencing the different types of winter weather this time of year when I like have to pay the most amount of attention
to your mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, completely right. I think that the dark nights and the cold and that, you know, and it gets worse, doesn't it? So it's like you sort of know it's like closing in on you.
Yeah.
And it's those sort of, you know, and I'm a morning person too. I don't know I think you're quite a morning person as well. Like, you get up and it's pitch black. Some people love it, but it's very hard for a lot of people too, because you are literally, and I always say this about London especially, like, you are literally under a cloud. Yeah. Literally, you're under, and that greyness and the greyness and the greyness and the greyness. And so it's a perfect opportunity at times like that to use your mind properly, because if you don't control your mind in that space, it's very easy to like feel really depressed and really miserable for a really long period of time.
And also, it's like not being conscious to the fact that you're feeling like that. Yeah, makes it just almost get worse. And by the time the sort of, you only realise it when the sun comes out and you're like, oh my god. For me, I've really noticed the effects of this time of year particularly, and it's hard when you get up in the dark and you come home in the dark.
Totally.
But it's one of those things that if you don't fight against it, and that's where your mind comes into it. If you don't fight against it, then and you just lean into it, what it promotes. Whereas for me, I'm like, right, that means evenings on the sofa.
Yeah, and when you say don't fight against it, I think that's really important, because it's a lot of, you know, what I teach with people, like when you can't change the situation, i.e. the facts of whatever the situation is that you're in, i.e. it is winter and I am in London and it is cold and it is dark, I can't change that. I have to find ways to think about this to make myself feel better.
What do you do when you're in London and the weather is like this? What is your process that you go through?
I know that if I walk outside my front door and I go, I can't believe it, I absolutely hate it, this is so depressing, blah, 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 blah. Like, when I do that, I know that I'm not going to have a good day. It's already going to set me off on the worst foot. I also know that it would not be possible for me to walk out the door and be like, oh, it's absolutely fine and it's pitch black and it's 8 in the morning, I'm totally happy with this, with birds and butterflies, you know, like, no, that's not going to happen. So what I am going to do is try and find a way to think about that is realistic. And what is the good that I can find in this situation? What is good about this, right? To me, maybe a nice warm hot coffee, lovely, okay. Maybe it is an extra half an hour in bed in the morning because it's dark outside. I'm very much a believer of like, we hibernate in the winter, like that is what we're actually meant to do. So what are all the amazing, wonderful things that I can do in that space that I can't do when the sun is shining? Is it that I'm going to start to, like, I don't know, make a really amazing meal for some friends tonight that's going to be like a hearty and yummy, exactly, that I'm not going to do when it's summer? So I'm going to start to find ways to think about that in a way that makes me feel okay.
Do you know one of the biggest things that has helped me this year, and anyone that's watched my videos for like the last however many months, well, especially throughout December, one of the biggest things that has helped me embrace this weather, I don't know whether, it probably is because all we ever talk about is our hair.
Yes.
But
I think we talk about other things.
Yeah, we do. But we always, the first topic of conversation, we always talk about our hair.
Yeah.
But I found hairstyles that I was comfortable with that would, like, they could brave the weather.
Yeah.
So, because I don't know about you, but when I spend half an hour doing my hair in the morning and it's going to rain all day, I'm setting myself up to be irritated by the fact that the rain, it sounds really silly, but it's made such a huge difference. And the positive that comes from that is that my hair is healthier as well, because I don't wash it as much, because it means that what I'll do is I'll just put it up in a bun in oils and hair masks. I'm going out, I feel nice because I found a style that works for me, and I know that the rain can't ruin my hair, so I don't feel like I'm going to look scraggly by the end of the day. And I just removed something that was so heavily impacted by the weather at this time of year. It sounds really superficial, but my gosh, it's made me so much happier. I always think that beauty treatments and things that we do for ourselves, like taking care of your skin, your hair, doing a fresh layer of fake tan, used to really help me feel like myself again.
It really matters. I did a campaign with a big company last year about self-tanning, and with Nivea, and it was an amazing campaign. We talked a lot about, you know, how self-tan can actually boost your self-esteem. And all those little things during January are like really, really important. It's the little tiny things that we're sort of giving back to ourselves in a kind way during a time that's not so kind outside, right? That's just, I'm a real believer of it. It's not to be sort of, you know, belittled or laughed at.
No.
Because these things, once you do that for yourself, you make yourself feel better. When we like ourselves, you know, we are doing things for ourselves that are loving. And the more we love ourselves, the less, you know, bad things we tolerate, you know, on a much bigger level. When you love yourself, you stop accepting less than you deserve. And I believe in that in every which way, like in business, in friendships, in relationships.
That does make sense.
I'm a real believer of that. Like, you know, when we don't love ourselves, we do things to ourselves that are not good, right? Whether that's the wrong relationships, whether that's, you know, drugs, alcohol, whatever, smoking, drinking, porn, gambling. We're doing those things because we are in some form of emotional pain, right? And the more that we learn to like do our work, get better, learn to like ourselves, and then growing into, because it's a journey, right? You don't go from that space to like, I love myself. But when you can get into a space where you can, you know, value yourself, when you value yourself, you won't accept anything less than anyone else that will value you at that level.
How would you even start? Like, what would you...
You start slowly. I mean, I can definitely say that I for sure like hated myself, you know. Yeah, definitely. And that's why, you know, the journey that I've taken over the last 25 years has been like unbelievable, because it went from there to where it is today, which is like I'm completely at peace. It's been a journey into growing into and learning to love who I am, which is me, completely imperfect, you know, not always getting it right, but accepting that as that's good enough, you know, which I think has been a real journey. And I think the question was, where do you even start with that? And it is literally about surrender. It's about saying, you know what, I'm living this life where I'm really unhappy, and I can blame him, them, or I could look at myself and go, what is going on for me? What am I allowing? What, you know, behaviors am I doing that is not okay? Like, once you start to be willing to step into that space of like looking at yourself and looking at your part in things and looking at all of that stuff, that's the beginning of that journey. And it is the best journey you will ever take.
A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that they are able to start any changes in their life like straight away, just in their head. Like,
it's all in your head.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this work. How dare you stop stroking me? How dare you? I don't know if they can see it, but like Piper's like this, and Lydia stopped for like half a second, and there was nearly like a problem. And I believe that like wholeheartedly, that you can be in any situation, and as long as your mind is right, you are going to be okay. And how you think is so important. I bang on about this all day long, that when you understand how important your thoughts process is, you wouldn't not take care of it. It's like I always say, going to the gym. Like, if you care about what goes into your body and taking care of your muscles and your bones and your joints, you should take as much care of your brain.
That's literally one of my main focuses this year. Is, I think in health I've always focused on like, how do I look, kind of thing, but actually now I want to focus on the health and the thoughts, and being way more conscious of the thoughts that I have, so that's my main focus for my health. Because I think that everything else will come after that.
Yeah,
when I'm thinking about things.
Yeah, and being conscious and aware, which you just said, like that in itself takes a little bit of time to be. Do you remember when we started our work together? And I was like, "Are you conscious of your thinking?" And you were like, "What?"
Absolutely.
Most people are. They're like, "What? What do you mean? Am I conscious of?" Yeah, I know what I'm thinking, but actually, we don't.
I remember, I can't remember what book it was that I read, but sorry, Piper. It said about how the brain is designed to keep you alive. Like, that's what your brain
survival.
Is always in survival mode. So in everything, it's going to serve you up the worst case scenario in things. And just because it serves you those things, so, you know, like, what if this happens? Like, what if you meet this person and you fall in love and they break your heart, and this, that and the other? And it is down to you to
use your consciousness then, that's when, because I don't think I ever fully understood consciousness until I met you, in that I think we hear the word thrown around a lot, but it was being conscious that I was being served thoughts about situations in life. So even taking, for example, this side of the year, which I think that everyone says, oh, it's miserable, oh, it's this, that and the other, and I think that that's what they're unconsciously served, is that this is miserable, it's grey outside, it's this, that and the other. And the reality is that now in my brain, I often have to go, my brain instantly goes there, it goes, oh my gosh, it's raining again, how miserable. But at least the trees are getting a drink in time for when the sun, or whatever it is that you can do to put like a positive spin on it. And that's where I find the most like help in turning my own thoughts and thinking a bit more consciously. But I don't think I ever fully understood it until I started doing work with you.
Anything good is worth working for, right? Like nothing can come to us just like naturally, it's good. And also this really requires like putting the work in, you know, you've done it with me, where like it required work, you know, and it's messy sometimes, and it's ugly sometimes, and it's painful sometimes, and sometimes it's like, are you fucking serious? Like, how can I not get this? And then eventually it's just like, you know, it's like the sun comes out and you're like, oh, and then you start to naturally go there, you know, and everything becomes more peaceful. Like for me, it was always about a journey of being at peace and being grounded.
That's what I think inspires me the most about you. That is the one thing that I always like. I'll always say, like, what would Jacqueline think about this situation? What would, and it always comes, I always know the answer straight away. It's just, I want to be peaceful. It's not that I want like this crescendo or this, that, and the other, or like whatever. You just are like at peace with everything. And it's one of the journeys that I've been on in my career, learning to accept, sorry Piper, learning to accept like negative sides of things and positive sides of things means I have to get neutral on both. Neutral. Yeah, and so
it's like my favourite place to hang out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've definitely had those conversations, haven't we?
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel grateful when I look back at my life of the, you know, I've written a book, but like I should really write a book of like really what's gone on. And you know, when I look back at all of that stuff,
like an autobiography.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't put my name on it. Yeah. I think when I look back at that and the levels of the you know, where it went to in my life, I feel very grateful that it taught me how to get to a place of peace. Because the more of that, like we were talking about earlier actually, about, do you remember I was saying about like the whole flood thing, when there was this massive leak, and because I'd been under like huge pressure and stress over something that was bigger than that, a leak was like, it's a leak, I'll deal with the leak. Mentally I will deal with this leak, like, and it wasn't a big deal because the other stuff that was going on was so, you know, massive mentally. And so you learn, the more stress you have in your life, what is and isn't worth your energy. And what I came to the conclusion of was like 99% of the time it's just not worth doing that to myself. Like I need to be mentally intelligent and find really strong ways to think so I can handle it, right? And it's like nowadays when things, you know, don't go to plan, or there's, you know, obstacles in the way, or whatever real life throws at me, you know, it's like, okay, well, how do I tackle that next? It's not, oh my God, this is awful, and now da-da-da, and da-da-da-da. Like, no, I'm not playing that game.
Because that's what you would always say to me when I'd be like, but Jacqueline, this is so not fair. You'd be like, that's life.
I wouldn't have it, it's not fair, because life isn't fair.
Life's not fair.
Life is not fair. If you don't get your head right, you are going to be living at a very high level of stress. That's really unhealthy. You know, and it's one of the things I talk about a lot, isn't it? The manual of like, because you do it that way, you think everyone else should do it that way, and we're all guilty of that. Like, but I would do it like that, so therefore you're wrong. And when we learn to try and get rid of that manual and be like, you know what, they're not wrong, they're different. It's just not the way I would do it, and it doesn't mean my way is the right way, they've got a different way, and that's okay, right? We learn to just drop it down a level. Like when I was like parking my car once outside and I was reversing, and this guy was hooting me, and I was like super chill. My friend's like, aren't you wound up about it? I was like, well, why would I get wound up over this person hooting? Like, why would I choose to do that? And then her window happened to be down, and he drove past, and he drove really slowly and gave me the finger. Why would I want to get myself wound up over someone I've never met, who's probably got their own stuff going on? He could be having a terrible day. Like, that's not about me.
Yeah.
Like, poor you for being so angry. That can't feel good. Life is stressful in London. Like,
absolutely.
I get it, but I'm not joining you there.
Yeah.
Like, I have no, like, who am I to tell you whether you're right or wrong? Like, if you want to do that, that's on you. But I have learnt to manage my mind enough to say, I get that that's where you're at, but you are just sitting in that situation box of you doing that, and how I think about you doing that matters, because that's how I create my feelings. You don't get to control that within me. I get to control that within me, because I can't blame you.
It's honestly, like, when I sit here and I hear you talk, it sounds so simple, but it's not. Because
It
I know
takes time.
I know that it's not simple because I've literally been through it. But when you say, like, of course you just wouldn't. But when you're in that situation, overriding the knee-jerk reaction to another human doing something or another situation, that's where the test is, isn't it? Because
I always say, get really selfish. And what do I mean by get really selfish? I mean, get really selfish with how you feel. Become selfish to caring about how you feel. I care so much about how I feel.
Yeah, so you're thinking that I'm not gonna, for me, I'm not thinking about anyone else. For me, I'm not going there with you.
For me, I'm not gonna let anyone do that, because if I let people do that, my emotions are going to be like this all day long. The minute I step outside my front door, my emotions will change, right? The minute. So I don't want to hand that power to other people. For me, I selfishly care about how I feel. It really matters to me that I feel okay. And I have learned in my life, I cannot blame you for how I feel. I cannot blame you. I've got to blame me for how I feel, because it's coming from my thinking. So if I selfishly care about how I feel, and I care that I feel calm, then I sure must find a way to think about whatever it is you're doing that's going to make me feel calm, because I can't blame you. So that's what I mean about get selfish with that.
Yeah.
Care so deeply about how you feel that you will then choose to manage your mind correctly. And you won't get it right every time, because life isn't perfect. You will have your moments, but you will recover much quicker from it.
And also, this isn't...
I feel like your cogs are like...
Well, yeah, but because every time you talk about something like this, I'm like, oh, you just put it so well. My mind, not because I think I know exactly what it is that you're saying, but I'm trying to think like somebody else. Like, if someone sat here and they're thinking like, oh, I really struggle when I'm like driving, out of nowhere I just become so like reactive to people.
I would say to them, when you get in your car, before you even start your engine, play a game with yourself. How do I want to feel from leaving work to getting home? I want to feel calm.
Oh wow, that's really good.
I am going to choose to feel calm no matter what comes at me on this journey. And I know there's going to be stuff coming. And my game I'm going to play is that I'm going to be calm. And I'm probably going to get in my car, and there's going to be people around me that want to get home faster. And there's going to be people that are going to be putting their foot down and probably driving in a really dangerous way, because that's their style. And then there'll be people that like have got all day long, so that's their style. And blah, blah, blah. And actually, all that matters to me is I stay calm. So what thought am I going to choose to take with me on this journey? And I'm going to choose a really good thought. How lucky is it that I've got a car to get home in?
Yeah, so it's almost like you're practicing gratitude on the move, because I think at the moment there's like huge...
Gratitude's only one of the ways, right?
Okay.
Like, that's just one of the ways.
Because that's what people do in the mornings. Like, I think people like do like their gratitude journaling in the morning.
Brilliant.
And so what you've said there is like, I'm grateful for the fact that I've got my car.
Yeah, because that's a nice thought, but you can choose a million different thoughts, right? Like, that's just one of them. Gratitude of like, which is very important, you know, I'm really grateful I've got a car to get home. Or the second thought you could choose is like, this is going to be a really interesting journey to listen to how my head goes. And it's going to be like, I can't believe he did that. He's really stupid. Right? And you can giggle at it and find the humour at it when you learn how to manage your head around it.
I love that.
Right, so like this is all about doing it in a way that's almost like a game in that situation, which could be really fun for you.
That is,
or not, by the way, or not. Or sit in your car and be miserable. You decide.
You
right?
do you. I actually love that though, that because it's separating yourself from the thoughts that you are
you
so
are not
accustomed
your thoughts.
to.
You are not your thinking. Right, this little thing in here is, you know, like they used to say in recovery, like in the beginning, you know, just like be careful when you go in there, you know, like don't go in there alone, you know, like because it can be a war zone in there. So it's our responsibility as emotional, mature adults, right, to do the work to make sure that we learn how to use this thing, this powerful, brilliant, amazing thing. That's why I say, like, when you are willing to do the work and look at yourself and do and understand how to choose to think properly, it's not just positive thinking. Like, oh, let's positive think our way, oh, it's raining outside, oh, it's fine, it'll be summer soon. Well, that's probably not going to work for you. So learning, right, how to choose thoughts that you do believe. When you start to get into this vibe, and you know, Lydia, look at when you first came to me and look at where you are today with your own thinking. You've done the work, you're doing the work, right? And your followers as well, and I can see it often, they're like, oh my God, you're so different. You are so different because you put the work in to get your head right. Like, it's the best gift you can give yourself. For me, I had no choice. I had to do it.
I think that is like, it's so weird trying to like explain it when it's like, I think when what we were talking about with like, you know, doing your hair and doing your makeup and doing like the body creams, like that's all really important as part of it. But you can take that experience to a whole new level all on your own without spending any money in here.
100%.
And
100%.
Like, I'm trying to think of all of the different scenarios that people could be like experiencing. Like, say over Christmas there was like family members that you had that were just, you know, digging at you or whatever, or the news is like, I think the news is like a big one. I think that's really affecting like a lot of people because we have these like 24-hour news streams of everything that's going on in the world.
Control your intake.
Because even I know the things that you've taught me, and I obviously don't know everything, and I'm always learning, and I've accepted that I don't.
We're all always learning.
But the news, because I know as the type of sensitive person that I am, and like we just said, we don't watch the news constantly. I will every so often like dip into the news, like on my phone, on my terms. I've muted anyone that like shares news or whatever on my feeds, that things that would shock me, shocking images. I then feel guilty about that. Does that make sense? And I think that's probably something.
That's probably something we need to work on.
Probably. I feel like I'm like stealing you away from this chat that we're having and now having my own session with you, but it causes me moments where I'm like, oh God, I feel guilt.
I think with this, it's like, you just have to do your best.
But what if my best is like hiding under a duvet?
But if that's all you can do,
yeah,
and that truly is your best, then that's okay. And that's a really important thing to learn. That some days your best, if you're in that position, that might well be the best you can do, right? You know, I remember when I was getting clean, and the best I could do was genuinely brush my teeth. Now, it wouldn't have helped me going, oh my God, is that the best you can do? Like, that was the best I could do. And when we learn to pull back on that and say, this is my best today, and it might not be my best tomorrow, and I might be able to do more and do better tomorrow, but today this is my best. There is so much power in being gentle with yourself in that space. Turning off the noise, because everyone will have an opinion about whether that's your best or not. Turning that noise off and saying to yourself, is this the best I can do? And that's it.
And what if you can't turn off the noise? Like, what if it's like your brother or your mum or your auntie or whatever is the person that says that's your best? Like, that's not enough. How do you, because I think those are the situations.
Well, who gets to decide what enough is? Let's start with that. You're not going to decide for me what my best is. Only I'm going to decide that for me, because you can't possibly know that. What's my best? I know that, and I can't know what yours is. Only you know that, right? You know what your good enough is. So I think that's number one. And number two, again, using your mind to be aware enough to say, okay, a lot of that stuff that's just been thrown at me there is actually not about me. That's their opinions and their views, which they're allowed, and I don't have to subscribe to that. And I think that's really important too, like, you know, being aware of what's yours and what's not yours. We do live in this society where we're constantly shown, you know, we've got to be better, we've got to look better, we've got to do better, you've got to have more. It's like, it's just this incessant noise. And it's really important that we can say to ourselves, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. Like, my best is good enough, right? We're all messy, imperfect humans doing our best.
I know that this isn't even me putting this pressure on myself. When that's the case, I'm sort of like, how do I control the pressure that's being put on me that I'm not putting on myself? And in those are the moments where it's, you don't control the pressure.
People don't put pressure on you.
Yeah, you think, because I go through this with my husband all the time. Like, pressure is put on him quite a lot that he like allows, and I'm like, whoa, like, hold on a minute, this just isn't happening. And it's very much like you are choosing to allow that the things that you know about the situation in your brain to put the pressure. You're choosing the pressure.
Or you just find ways not to think of it as pressure.
I love that. I literally love that. It's not even pressure.
But it's how do you think about that so that you don't think it's pressure. And another thing I've learned about life as I go along, and I've still got a ton of things to learn. You know, the older I get, the more I'm like, I've got so much more to learn. You know, it's amazing. It's so exciting. One of the things I would definitely say is like, there is a beauty in it all.
Yeah. In
the way that it does work how it's meant to. And even when you think, oh my God, but I really wanted that thing and it didn't work out for me and this is terrible, and there is a bigger picture. Like, I feel like I want to say that there is bigger things happening, that, you know, maybe you didn't get that job because, you know, there's something else coming down the road that is actually better for you. Or maybe that relationship didn't work out because, you know, fundamentally down the road there's a much better one for you. There might be still things you've got to learn, or they've got to, like, there's a beauty in that space that we must also acknowledge, you know, as we go through all of this stuff of like saying, you know what, like, it is working how it's meant to be working, you know.
Yeah. I feel like
Lydia's gone, everyone.
I feel like I don't even do these videos for like you guys anymore. I sit
we just don't have this natter, I know, right?
I used to be such a reactive person, and I remember the first time that I had a situation like that, and I was like, oh my God, I've just navigated that consciously.
Like, doesn't that feeling feel better than anything you've like ever had
I
before?
like walked away and I was like, I'm so proud of myself.
But that feeling of like, you've done the bit of work, you've reacted. First of all, you've thought differently. Second of all, you've felt calmer. Third of all, you've acted differently. And fourth of all, your outcome's totally different. That to me is like what it's all about. Now listen, people might not agree with that and they might go, no way, I think, you know, a pair of boots is far more interesting, or whatever, or like, okay, fine, you know, okay, I get it. But that work, like, to me, that just makes me want to, like, I'm so happy.
Yeah. When
you say things like that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a power that we've all got.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like, whoever's watching this has got the same power to do that,
yeah,
right?
That's the thing I think is so...
You've got that power. That's within, that is inside you to say, I am going to manage my brain, right? My brain did not come with a manual, so I need to learn how to use it, and I need to do this work. Yeah. There is so much, you know, for us to constantly evolve with and learn, and, you know, no one's got it. No one's like, oh yeah, that person, they've got it, they're perfect, they know it. Like, that's not realistic. It's just the more work we do, the more that we can understand and reach a depth that we can't otherwise. And, you know, some people won't want to know this. They'll be like, this is a big load of crap. And that's fine.
That interests me so much in itself, but I think that that's probably one of the things that when people hear conversations like this, they're thinking, well, I'm never going to be like that. Like, no way, I'm a fiery Aries or whatever is one of the things that I used to say. I'm a fiery Italian Aries. And like they have this identity of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, when you start, rather than looking at someone like you, that they can see you and think, well, I'm never going to be there. But the moment that you take those first steps, you realise how many opportunities there are in just normal day-to-day life. Like nowadays when I have a long car journey ahead of me, I'm like, what can I do to change how I think about this as an annoyance of normal life? Like I've got to travel 500 miles, for example. How many audiobooks can I listen to in that time?
Exactly.
The morning commute on the trains, what can I do to make my morning commute like enjoyable? That starts with how I think about it and then changing what it is that I do in those moments, because at this time of the year, morning commutes are most likely miserable for so many people. Like
the
literally,
worst.
especially
the worst
in England. I think so many people, like what you were saying about living in London and how you come up against lots of people and it's very easy. I've been barged out the way by like grown men and I'm thinking, gosh. But the moment that you get the way that you think about the inevitabilities of life, you're able to then put in place actions that make it even better.
Exactly.
And that's what I love. Anyway, I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to go. I could talk to you forever, but we've got lunch, haven't we?
Thanks for having me again.
We're going to the 22?
We're going to the 22.
But as usual, I always say it, but you'll find all of Jacqueline's details in the description box down below. She's got a book. She's on loads of different podcasts. If you ever want to know where Jacqueline's newest podcast, follow me, because I listen to every single podcast that she'd ever does, because I'm like, what can I learn now? I do.
It's so lovely.
funny.
You're so lovely. Lovely to see you all. Lots of love to everybody. Be nice to yourself and get your mind right.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's I couldn't have put it better myself. Love Caesar salad, oh my gosh. Jacqueline's gone for the healthy option.
Being super healthy today.
And a little Ruinart Blanc de Blanc. Perfect. I am now on the train home and I'm getting to see all of the flooding in the countryside out of the window. And it's wild. We've had so much rain. It's probably why we spoke about it so much on with the chat with Jacqueline today. But I just had the loveliest time. And one thing I wanted to tell you is that I haven't even told you about this, but I don't know if you've noticed, but often on my vlogs I will film the floor and I'll film my feet where I'm walking. And from doing that, one thing that I noticed was there is so much chewing up on the floors, and you might be thinking this is the most boring thing I've ever told you. But last year in December, I made the decision to change from chewing gum to mints. I feel like there's just something quite chic about someone who takes out a tin of mints like this. I get them from Amazon, and it was really funny. I got them out and I offered one to Jacqueline, and she was like, I love this, and she instantly went on and bought these mints. These are the wintergreen mints from Barclays. And I saw someone at the train station and they got out a tin of mints as well, and I feel like you're making a real statement when you get out a tin of mints, because you're not a chewing gum person and you care about not using chewing gum. You also like nice mints, and I just think there's something so chic about it. You'll probably think I'm nuts, but I love it. Anyway, we're heading back to the house now, and I've had such a lovely day.
Gardening.
Yeah.
It's like a fully waterproof fitted green jacket, which.
Fantastic. You can smell Piper on me. You can smell her. Oh, you can smell Piper. You can smell Piper on me. Yes, you can. Oh my goodness. Whenever I come home from somewhere, these boys, if there's been a dog there, they let me know that they know I've been with another dog. Little Pipini, you would love her. You would love her. Yes. I did not get to squidge you enough this morning. I did not.
I'm back home now, and what a lovely, lovely afternoon and a lovely chat with Jacqueline as well. It was one of those chats where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving this day just feeling so uplifted. And I would say that I think that Jacqueline touched on this really, really well in our chat. I'm going to crouch down so that you can actually see me. I think that the way she is such an interesting thing, and she thinks so differently to so many people. And I think that sometimes when I share these chats, some people almost take it in the wrong way. And I would say that first and foremost, I only ever share these chats for more like a different way to think, and just so that you guys have the knowledge. And I know loads of you will. I am not the great messiah, but some of you will be sat here thinking, I feel a certain type of way about something, without any knowledge that you're able to feel differently and think differently about the situation. Like, say that there's a co-worker that you really don't get on with at work, and you're just like, oh, they're just this, that, and the other. And there are so many different scenarios that you can play out in your head so that you too can be like, as Jacqueline says, be selfish with the way that you feel. And when she's saying that, she's not meaning that she's selfish to other people. What she means is she's very, very selfish about her feelings and how she feels. So she thinks about things a lot, so that she's putting that first before she reacts to things. And I think that's such an interesting thing to explore. Now, like I said, sometimes people don't want to hear this stuff, but I find these chats, just on a personal level, super, super interesting. And I think she brings up so many good points and so many interesting discussions. And I always say it, but every time I'm sat there, I think I've got it all figured out. And then Jacqueline will say something and I'm like, but we went for a really lovely lunch at the 22 and had a glass of champagne, which I felt very, very fancy having champagne at lunchtime. There's always so much focus around, you know, getting fit and healthy, but there's also a fitness and health routine that you can do just with the way that you think. And like I said to Jacqueline when we were talking, when she explains it, it's so easy, but actually practicing it is so difficult. And you'll have these moments like I had where you're dealing with a situation and all of a sudden you realize you're dealing with it in a different way and you're calmer than you usually would be. You're not panicking. And it's that you sort of like, you feel like you're onto something and the penny is dropping and you're making progress. And it's that moment where you're like, oh, I'm so excited to explore this more. So anyway, I'm just gonna crack on with the rest of my day, but I hope you enjoyed it and I'll speak to you soon. Oh, my goodness me. What an interesting place for me to come and talk to you at this point. I just want to say, I hope you enjoyed the chat with Jacqueline. I've just like edited it all up. For me, it's a very interesting thing because I had to ask myself what my purpose was from doing my vlogs. It's not about me vlogging my life to show you how great my life is. I vlog to show you how great your life could be, or how great your life is already. I want to make sure that the things that I'm doing are going to help some people. It might not help everyone, and I totally understand that. This video may not be for everyone. Not everyone is on a journey of like self-discovery and self-improvement, etc. I would be like, why are you watching my videos? Because it's all I talk about, and it's something that I am very, very passionate about. And so my chickens, they've obviously realised I'm down in the office. But I would say that it's one of those things that I'm like, it's a joy for me to be able to introduce you to someone that maybe you wouldn't have heard of. I'm sure you would have, but maybe you wouldn't have. If you're in a point in your life where you're like, I need to make massive change to the person that I am, to my direction, to my confidence, whatever it is, it's a joy for me to be able to share content that will hopefully just maybe inspire you, or even just like make you think something is possible that maybe you thought was impossible, just when it comes to like how you're navigating your everyday life. Like, I loved what Jacqueline said about driving and how easily we all get like uptight and reactive and all of those kinds of things. And yet just a simple change of the way that you think, just a simple consciousness of the way that you think, enables you to hopefully reach your destination in a calm and collected
way, and I think that that's fascinating. I've not put her theory to the test yet, but I am someone who I think I'm quite good at keeping my reactiveness at bay. Sometimes like someone will do something and I'm like, what are you doing? But I'm not a horn beeper, I'm not a swearer, I'm not a reactive type of person. I'm just more of like a, what were you doing? But I want to make sure that I want to make sure that I'm reaching destinations, and I'm not even phased. People just are that way. And so listening to the things that my brain tells me on the way to destinations, I think will be fascinating. But like I said, this might not be for you, and I get that. However, I did think that this is a great opportunity, with everything that's included in this video, to do a bit of an accountability check-in, because it is obviously the first day of February today when this video is going live. And like I said in my intentions video, this isn't something that I'm like doing because it's content, and this isn't something that I'm just doing to, you know, show that I'm doing something for the year ahead. No, I'm actually holding myself fully accountable. So I'm here with all my books, and I'm here to tell you what I've continued doing, what maybe has changed, and maybe I've adapted. This will be a really good way to hold me accountable, but also if you made intentions, I want you to grab wherever it was that you made your intentions, wherever it was that you noted down your goals and your dreams, etc. I wanted you to grab all of those things, and here's a time to sort of hold yourself accountable for those things, and then plan for February, because January's done, and I feel like for me personally, I had quite a good January. Like I think on the grand scheme of things, I had a really good January, and I feel like this is the first time that I've kind of made intentions and then actually been actively, if anything, I've actually done more things. But anyway, let's get into what my intentions were. Obviously, I went through with you with regards to my tools and bits and pieces like that. I do still have my notebook, and this has been vital. This has been so key. I can't tell you how many times I'm like in a meeting, and even just for noting things that people say down, I'm like, I grab it, I note it down. I just put a date at the top of every page when I'm using it on that day, and anything that I scribble down, any ideas that I have, video titles, content ideas, all goes onto that page, and then it gets funneled into my to-do lists that go into my diary. So these are still very much functional items, and still, this is great for content planning. I'm about to sit down and sort of plan all of my February content. Planning my content in this way makes me able to be aware of key dates and things that I would want to create content around. I'm not thinking like Valentine's Day, although your girl loves a bit of Valentine's Day, although I've asked for something very different for Valentine's Day this year. Initially, I asked to go to the ballet because that was one of my intentions. However, ballet season does not start until March, April. So I think that will have to be a birthday treat. I wanted to see Swan Lake, and that's not happening. So my ask for Valentine's Day, or we actually don't do Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day anyway. So my ask for Valentine's Day was to go on a hike with good champagne and a picnic somewhere. So instead of something exceptionally fabulous, we're doing something exceptionally fabulous in nature. And this was in my intentions. This was me wanting to be a lot more clear about the things that I want out of my year, in terms of what I want to do, where I want to go, who I want to do it with. I really wanted to stop putting my husband in the position where he felt he needed to like panic do things, because we had that before Christmas. I wanted to be really clear that this is what I want to do on this date, and if it's something for the both of us, this is what we should do on this date. And I think I've been really good at that. I've been very good at communicating that with him, and I'm excited to see how our year unfolds and what we're doing. We've booked so many things to do as well. I've booked my sourdough course, which I'm literally counting down the days until I get to do that. I've booked foraging courses, we've booked hikes, all of the good things. So I really feel like I'm taking 2024 in a position of like, I've taken the bull by the horns. I digressed into something different, but that is how I've been doing things. So today is going to be my planning day for my content. So that's really good. Now, gratitude journaling was one of my biggest things. And at the very last hurdle of this month, things changed a little bit. I don't know if it's going to stay like this. I'm not sure. I have done, I think it's like 25 days of this month journaling. However, I've made a bit of a tweak because I've started gratitude journaling and my husband hadn't. And it very quickly became clear to me, and this is by no means a dig at my husband in any way, shape or form. My husband is the loveliest, most kindest person, but I realised that he wasn't practicing gratitude in the same way that I was, and so I really wanted to get him involved in that. And Carrie and I spoke about this, and she's done the same thing with her partner. I think it's a very different thing. I think men need a little bit more coercion. I think it needs, they almost need to be sort of walked through it, because we know what it's been like for men. Men are not supposed to be in touch with their feelings. They don't need to practice gratitude, all of those kinds of things. This was one of Carrie's tips, which I think we thought was brilliant. We had a really great chat about this, that basically just before you go to bed, you and your partner, and one of you will have to be strict on this, so it's really something that you have to stick to, but you have your 3 things that you're grateful for that day. Whether you do it in the morning, whether you do it in the evening, it's whatever suits you. I think it's just important that you're doing it, because those are the things that really keep you in touch with what's important, what matters. When you're doing that as a habitual thing, I spoke to a lady recently and she was like, I know that I am 30% happier since I started practicing gratitude. Bless me, that was a big one. I will probably still use this for me, but it's just important for me to take and bring Ali along with me on this. And I would say that if you are doing it and your husband isn't, just doing it that way in a much more vocal sense, really encourage them, make them feel comfortable talking about those things, because I noticed very quickly he didn't feel comfortable, he felt a bit silly to begin with, but then he's like settled into it. Next up was getting organised, and I think I need to, just being completely honest on this, I am so much better. Like that, I think that that's the thing, is that I am so much better, but I think I might be so much better because I'm so much more organised with my time and what it is that I'm doing, that I'm actually leaving time to be able to organise everything again. So my dressing room has been a lot tidier. It's not been perfect. I don't want to like sell you the dream and then just be like living in a pigsty behind the scenes. What I've noticed is it's times when I haven't planned ahead, if I haven't planned what outfits I'm taking on a trip, what I'm wearing for an event, that is when my dressing room in particular falls into chaos. So it very much goes hand in hand with my need to plan ahead and put outfits together and plan things and enjoy like planning what it is I'm going to wear for an entire week ahead of schedule, especially if I'm traveling. There's been a general improvement in my organisation, and that to me means that I'm on the right track. I'm never looking to be perfect from the outset, but it is something that I know I want to improve, I want to get better at, and I feel like I've done that in January, so I've got to now take that with me into February when I'm very, very busy, because those are the times when I'm not, I'm a little bit more likely to need more downtime because I'm tired from being here, there and everywhere, traveling, etc, etc. It'll be in those moments where we see just how organised I am. One of the biggest things that I talked about in my intentions was getting my time of the month and my periods under control. I am still tracking, very much so, really finding things incredibly fascinating. I've just today as well finished my first bottle of my Ashwaganda, and today is, I believe, well no, I'm not entirely certain of when it was that I ovulated. This is way too much information to be sharing it on the internet, but we're friends here and I'm talking about this journey with you, so we're going there. But I think I ovulated a couple of days ago, and so I'm starting to feel things, but it doesn't feel as so at the moment. I have booked in for my gynecologist appointment, and I have had that. When I'm filming this, you will see it all in a video, I promise. But I do get some answers, and it is, yeah. Anyway, that's very exciting to be on that path and just getting that under wraps. It's inspired many, many changes in my life, huge lifestyle changes. I'm already undertaking, so I have actually added to my intentions, and by all means add to yours. Like, this is not something that you have to wait until the New Year's to implement. Like, just change your life if you want to, and change it for the better, and make today the day that you were like, oh my gosh, do you know what, you're absolutely right, this is the day that I'm going to change things up and make life better for myself. I'm going to stop procrastinating on my phone in the mornings, which, by the way, still going strong with no phone at bedtime or in the morning. I put my phone on the other side of the room and wake up with my Lumi alarm, and I'm 1 month in, and I'm actually over the moon to admit that the majority of my mornings now, I wake up at 5:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, and that is because I am not eating into my sleeping time in the evenings, which means I get up earlier, and I cannot tell you how happy it makes me. I've not been perfect at. There have been nights when I've gone out, I've got home. In fact, I am coming to you now having had 4 hours sleep, not because I went out, but Mr. Millen decided to give the boys treats before bed, and I can only imagine that is like giving treats to a toddler, because Porter kept us up until 2 in the morning. But the good thing is about that is that I still got up at 6:15 for my PT session. It is about being realistic and consistent where I possibly can, and as long as I'm doing the majority, I don't mind. I think when it comes to my content consumption, I think I'm really good at that anyway. I think I recognized that in myself really early on, and was able to implement ways in which to cope and be a responsible human, and a human that naturally cares about what goes on in the world, whilst also not destroying my own mental health in the process. If I've had a bad day, if I'm in the depths of my cycle, it's not a good time for me to be doing that. I'm not going to be helping anyone. I have to say, on my last video, hearing all of your achievements, genuinely, I was so emotional. I want to like read some, if you want me to read some of them out in like an upcoming video, please let me know, because I think you guys will find it so inspiring. If not, I'll link it in the description box down below. Go and read the comments section on my handbag collection video, because honestly, you are incredible. Learning for me is going really, really well. I am currently on like I said, a big lifestyle change, which I talk about later on in February. But I'm on a lifestyle change, and I'm learning a lot about that at the moment, and doing a lot of research, reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of podcasts, speaking to Jacqueline, like lots of things like that, and just moving forward. But like I also said at the beginning of this little chat, I've booked things. I want to learn how to do new things. I want to learn how to make my own sourdough. I want to learn more about foraging. I really need to book in with Gemma because I've asked her so many times to do, like, I want to do an actual like floristry lesson course with her. I want to learn more about the old school versions of like fashion and craftsmanship and tailoring and things like that. So I really think I'm going to explore that a lot more this year as well. So learning is going well. Every day is a school day. And the final one that I think I'm going to touch on is goals. And I've had a really, really good January in terms of business. That's not me humble bragging, because my version of a really good business month is very, very different to other people's version of a very, very good business month. Because first and foremost, I have had time to be in nature. I've had time to be in my garden. I've had time to watch TV and read in the living room. I've had time to cook meals from scratch. I've had time to research meals. I've had time to learn. I've had time to do all of those things whilst working towards the goals that I have for the year. And that is very much, I know that I could go full throttle, work every day, work with everything that comes in, all of the things, non-stop, blah, blah, blah. I could very, very easily do that. That is not what makes me happy. What makes me happy is being able to have my hands in the soil on a Sunday afternoon whilst Ali is cooking a roast in the kitchen. And I think that in doing so, I'm able to hopefully, if just with the people around me, but sometimes with you guys, is also show you that, like, I hope that there's another side of this that I can show you that's not just like the girl boss era. And I really hope that that's what I'm doing, because when I get to the end of my life, no one is gonna say, oh, she worked more than anyone else. So anyway, that's my accountability check-in. I think I'm doing really well, but I want to know how you guys are doing, and I don't want you to feel like you have to beat yourself up in the comments. That is not what this is about. Holding yourself accountable to the things that you've said that you want to change is just a way of taking a positive step into the year. But if there are things that maybe you think you could do better, perhaps you've learned something from me sharing my accountability, whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Maybe we've all got advice for each other, because oh my gosh, the joy of you guys talking to each other in the comments, cheering each other on, was the best thing I've ever seen. If I could have more of that, oh, it'd make my job the most fulfilling job I think I could ever have. Can you tell I'm in a good mood today? I'm in a good mood despite having 4 hours sleep. I'm gonna get going. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's one of those videos that's a little bit different, and I'm so sorry if you came here wanting different. I just don't want every video to be the same. When I can share information in this way, I hope that you just lean into it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least I tried. Anyway, I'll see you guys in my next video. Yeah, thanks for watching.